Inter Miami, 14th out of 15 teams in Major League Soccer's Eastern Conference. Here are the important numbers, though. They are 8 points from ninth place. Ninth place, DC United, the playoff line with 9 games to go. Very important to note. Inter Miami have, in many cases, 2, in some cases as many as 3 games in hand on some of the teams that they are chasing. Much was made of Lionel Messi's trip to Hollywood. Herc, you were there to see it. What were your impressions of Messi against the defending champs?
Just in general, listen, I know LA is an event town, but man, this was the hottest ticket in LA all weekend. Beyonce was here, Taylor Swift was here the week before. The demand was not like it was for Messi and the bank at BMO Stadium. It was like unlike anything I've ever seen. The press box was as full as it can get. They were putting up seats and different type of places where different type of media can be in. I've never seen it that way. The stadium was just, it brought me back to the days of 2005 when Real Madrid came to play against the LA Galaxy and the iPhone wasn't around. It was more of the flash cameras. It was that type of event. You can feel it in the air. And then, man, listen, I know LA does very well filling up their stadium. They filled it up, but there was a lot of pink. A lot of pink in that stadium, and there was a lot of Argentina number 10 jerseys floating around.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I think it's my favorite Messi performance so far, right? It's like picking between great pieces of art or picking between your favorite children. But I think, one, for who he did it against, right? LAFC, the defending champs, the team that even the odds makers right now would tell you are the favorites, at least out of the Western Conference, to make MLS Cup. Where he did it, BMO Stadium, that usually is a pretty intense atmosphere for the opposition. It wasn't necessarily in this game. By the end of this game, he had the stadium chanting, Messi, Messi. It wasn't quite Cincinnati. It wasn't quite Nashville. But for me, it was my favorite because of how he did it. It is one thing to see a player dominate, especially a lower level of competition like MLS, with his goals. But to see a player dominate a game with his passes is something else. And the passes on these 2 assists, the setup to Alba, the setup to Campana, are just perfect. It's the definition of a guy making those around him better. And the numbers here are stark, right? 11 MLS games before he showed up, 0 wins. 11 games since he showed up, 0 losses. And this was a huge game, because coming off after dropping those points against Nashville, I thought the playoffs was pretty much done. Now you get 3 points against LAFC in Los Angeles. I think the playoff hunt is right back on for Inter Miami.
Before I get to the playoff hunt, this wasn't Messi's sharpest game. He had a few good looks, very good looks, that he didn't make. John McCarthy came up big. He missed just wide, whatever the case may be. But even when he's not at his best, he still levels above everybody else. And yes, the passing is impressive because he finds these lanes. He has vision unlike anybody in this league, unlike anybody in the world, honestly. And listen, Steve Cherundolo said it best. Like, what did you think Messi was going to do when he came to MLS? This is what he was going to do. He was always going to do. So it's good to see it on display. People spent a lot of money to come see him put on a show. That he did. Playoffs. Inter Miami, they're making the playoffs. I've got no.
There it is.
I've got no issue saying it. Listen, they're 2 games back. 2 games back. Look at this schedule right here. I'm hearing reports that he may not even play the Bolivia game. He may even leave for that Bolivia game and head on back. So he's going to miss Sporting Kansas City, but that's a Western Conference foe. Why is that important? Because when you play against an Eastern Conference foe, they are 6-point swings. That means you're taking 3 points for your team and you're taking away 3 points for a playoff opponent in your conference. Guess what? 9 games left, 8 for Inter Miami, and Messi and friends are against Eastern Conference foes. They're making it to the playoffs. And I'm going to go as far as to say, not only will they make it to the playoffs, but it won't be in that wild card game. It's not even going to be the 8th or 9th place. I think they get directly in it as one of the top 7. And if they do, round 1 is a series best of 3. Who wants to play a best of 3 series against Messi and friends? This Messi and friends, they keep on getting better. I wouldn't. What I will say is, how many teams are going to let this team off the hook? How many teams are going to let Messi and friends botch the first 30, 40 minutes, if you will, and leave them with a hope, a sliver, having the best player who's ever played the game, and he's going to carve you up when he needs to carve you up to send you home packing? How many teams are going to continue to do this? Because I counted by minute 26, 4 chances for Los Angeles. It could have been 4-1, minute 26, LAFC. and they choked. They bottled it. And if you leave a player like Messi, if you leave a guy with weapons at his disposal now, with that type of arsenal, he's going to eat you up. He's going to feast.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN Plus.